Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Real Scottish Politics Live with The National. I'm Steph Braun, one of the political reporters, and I'm with my colleague Adam Robertson. How are you this morning, Adam?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Good, Steph. How are you?
Not too bad. It's been a good week so far. So we enjoy. I didn't feel like I could complain about the heat wave. Really, it was quite nice weather. Had a nice day on my day off on Tuesday in Edinburgh. So.
Lovely.
Glorious sunshine, so that was good.
Yeah, it feels like it's maybe getting a little bit cooler.
Yeah, definitely.
Two of the days were extreme, but I think it's definitely starting to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It is getting cooler. So we've got a few things to talk about this morning. Obviously, many of you will have seen that the Tory leadership race is now down to just two. We've got Foreign Secretary Liz Truss and former Chancellor Rishi Sunak as the final two left. Penny Mordaunt was kicked out of the race after Liz Truss saw a boost to her numbers in the final ballot of MPs. I think that came as a bit of a shock because Penny Mordaunt was proving pretty popular and ahead of Liz Truss for a while, but she seemed to lose momentum towards the end. So she's gone, and so Truss and Sunak will go head to head over the summer to try and win the hearts of Tory members. That Tory members are the ones who will decide who wins the contest, not the general public. More on that later. Before the winner is confirmed on September the 5th. Sunak won the final round of voting among MPs and picked up 137 votes, followed by Truss on 113. I don't know what you've made of the contest so far, Adam. Is this the two that you expected to get to the end?
I certainly expected Rishi Sunak to get to the end. Yes, I think we all probably thought that for a little while. I think yesterday was the first one. I was on shift the kind of couple of days that it was Tom Tugendhat and Kemi Badenoch. And I think that, when that news came out, it was relatively predictable. I think yesterday was the first day where, because Liz Truss and Penny Mordaunt were relatively close, and Mordaunt, of course, had been ahead at one point. Yesterday was probably the first day where I really wasn't 100% sure. So it was certainly, I had kind of three names between Rishi Sunak, Penny Mordaunt, and Liz Truss. I think for a while there, everyone thought that was what it was kind of eventually come down to, and it was just a case of whether it was Liz Truss or Penny Mordaunt. But we'll find out which one of them it is, I suppose, soon enough, won't we? I think it'll get a bit more interesting that because the debate the other night, I think it was Sunday. I think because there was so many of them. I mean, even just five people, I suppose it wasn't too many, but it'll be quite interesting to see just two people go head to head, which I believe is on Monday.
Yes, I think it is. Obviously, there was a Sky News debate that was cancelled earlier this week because Sunak and Truss, funnily enough, pulled out of it, and they were the reason that it got pulled, because it would appear that the Tory MPs started freaking out a little bit because the party wasn't coming across very well with all this sort of infighting that was going on during the debates. So, yes, it's a bit ironic that they both pulled out of the debate in the contest at the end. The SNP have obviously, the contest shows that the Tory party is arrogant and out of touch. We've got Rishi Sunak, who is a billionaire, probably can't relate too much to a lot of the general public with the amount of cash he has. And I mean, there's a bit of distaste with Liz Truss because she is sort of caters more to the right wing of the party. I think that's how it's generally seen. And the kind of the contrasting thing with the two of them is that Liz Truss wants to cut taxes immediately, and on the other side of things, Rishi Sunak wants to cut them eventually, but only when inflation has gone down. So that'll be interesting. I think, like Adam says, I think it will become a little bit more interesting now that we're only down to two, and they're going to be trying to fight it out for the Tory membership's hearts. But like I say, it's going to be a prime minister that Scotland didn't vote for, as is the case a lot of the time. I think there's a lot of bitterness in that. This is down to the Tory. The next prime minister is down to Tory members, and that's it. Nobody else gets a say. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Also, I mean, with Penny Mordaunt out of the race now, it'll be interesting to see who the Scottish Tories give their backing to, because a lot of them were going for Penny Mordaunt. A few of them have gone for Sunak. But it will be interesting to see who they back. Ruth Davidson has come out and said that she'll back Rishi Sunak, which is quite funny because she didn't like Boris Johnson for the fact that he got a fixed penalty notice, but Sunak also did. So it's funny that she's backing him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just at a point where it's. Do you know, I remember when Boris Johnson first resigned and we were out, everyone was kind of voxing people and getting reaction from people on the streets. And whilst there was a lot of happiness there, the amount of people that also, I think, said just they were more nervous about what comes next than, the fact that Boris Johnson was leaving. And like you say, the fact that, Sunak was also given one of these fixed penalty notices, which seems to, I don't want to say it's been brushed under the rug, but it doesn't feel to me like it's been brought up a huge amount, particularly I know they want to try and avoid infighting, but you feel like somebody might have thrown it at him during a debate, but I suppose then that would just be what them gets brought up. So it's better just to, for them, maybe.
I think Sunak came out as more innocent, didn't he, in all of that, because he sort of fell into the party. He didn't realize what was going. He wasn't invited, was he? He sort of walked in the room and was caught up in this. So
we've all been there.
I think there was a sort of element of innocence about his fixed penalty notice.
Definitely.
By some quarters. So just talking about Partygate there, I mean, before we go on to that, I'll just mention that there is a comment piece from Leslie Riddoch, who's a fantastic writer for The National, who has written a comment piece called "Is Liz Truss God's Gift to the Scottish Independence Cause?", which is proving pretty popular and I think is a good read, considering that Boris Johnson was generally regarded as a gift to the independence cause. It'd be interesting to see if Liz Truss takes that baton on. And, so to speak. Just talking about Partygate there, Boris Johnson apparently could face a recall process if he is suspended for 10 days or more by the Privileges Committee later this year. The Privileges Committee are obviously looking at whether Boris Johnson misled Parliament over Partygate. Some of the statements that he made around that. But if he's suspended for 10 days or more, it could trigger a recall process, which is where voters can chuck their MP out, essentially, before their term ends, and that then triggers a by-election. So he might be gone as a Tory leader. He's going to be gone in September as Prime Minister, but the drama never ends with Boris Johnson, does it? It's going to keep going. Yeah,
it's going from, maybe going from bad to worse. That was something that it's been on my mind for a few weeks now. I just wondered what was going to happen after he left as Prime Minister, because he doesn't really seem like someone who would maybe sit and just sort of take that quietly. Even yesterday in his PMQs, he was sort of like half joking that it was his last PMQs. It's like, I don't know if he's just in complete denial about the fact that he's leaving. But yeah, I mean, as you say, it's just a never-ending drama. I thought that was perhaps over, as awful as it was probably time to, it's happened, and I thought that maybe all the committee meetings, etc., about it were done. But if it's not, and he finally faces some kind of justice for his actions, I know that he's obviously not going to be the Prime Minister, but to also then lose your seat as an MP, that comes straight from your own constituents. I think that would be pretty damning for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Many feel that he hasn't faced justice. A few people, like you just said, did think that the inquiry might not go ahead now because he's not going to be Prime Minister anymore. But they have said that the committee said that they are going to carry out the inquiry. What political developments have no relevance to whether the committee's carried out the investigation. So I think it's generally accepted that we're not going to get a final sort of report from that committee until much later on this year, probably potentially winter, I think. But it's interesting that it could trigger a by-election. So like I said, the drama never ends. Big news just come out this morning that the Supreme Court is to hear arguments as to whether the Scottish Parliament can legislate for another independence referendum without Westminster's permission in October, almost exactly a year ahead of the date of the proposed referendum, which is proposed as October the 19th next year. The Supreme Court will hear the arguments, both sides, on October the 11th and 12th this year. So that's really exciting, because obviously earlier this week, a request from the UK government for the case to be thrown out altogether before any evidence was even heard was rejected, and that was a big victory for the independence movement. But to now know that they're going to have arguments heard orally in the Supreme Court is a really big plus, I think, for the independence movement.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, just the fact that a date's been confirmed, and obviously the biggest kind of news was that the argument, the case rather, was not thrown out. But it's nice, to have that sort of date to look forward to, where everything will be heard, and to see that there is at least some kind of progression, rather than maybe we knew about this case, but I think there was a kind of period there where people didn't necessarily know what was going to happen, and obviously this week we've now seen some big developments. So yeah, it'll be all eyes on October. What date was it again? Sorry, Steph, the date of the hearing?
11th and 12th.
All idle time for there now, I guess.
Yeah, they've confirmed that today. So like I say, it is almost exactly a year ahead of the proposed referendum. So we'll be all over that in October. I think that's very close, actually, to the date of the SNP conference as well.
Yes, I'd seen that earlier. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head. I think that is the 2 days after the SNP conference.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, that's really big, because that's going to be obviously presumably a huge topic that will come up at SNP conference. I mean, independence would be anyway, but I mean, that specifically might come up quite a bit, being it's immediately ahead of it. So going to be a huge SNP conference. So yeah, that's pretty much the big stuff at the moment. Obviously keep an eye on the national.scot throughout the day. We'll be keeping up to date with any Scottish MSPs, MPs, Tory, that come forward and say who they're going to be backing in the race, and everything across Scottish politics as well. So keep an eye on the website, the national.scot, and we will see you tomorrow.